So let's go to the thing that brought you to all these Java champion, becoming famous open source contributor. So JHipster itself, maybe can you tell a story? How did you start actually creating JHipster? What kind of problem did you see at that time?
Yes, so it was a long time ago. At that time, Spring Boot did not exist. So I had an idea which was a bit similar to Spring Boot initially. And also at that time, we had something new which was arriving, which was AngularJS, those new front-end frameworks. And so that was the original idea about JHipster. So it was Java hipster. It was Java for hipsters. And for me, hipsters were people who were doing AngularJS typically, and wanted something. So when I say we, I was in a company and many of us had a similar issue. Basically, most of our customers, they were always saying, okay, we want to use Spring, but as Spring Boot did not exist, basically you were like copying and pasting huge XML files all the time. And also we want a front end and AngularJS is cool. We all want AngularJS. So at some point we realized that we had like 20 clients and they were all asking for the same thing, like the same global Spring Boot configuration and AngularJS on top of it. So after doing it for 10 times, we realized maybe we should automate that, which might not be a good idea for consulting companies. Most consulting companies were very happy to sell the same thing over and over again to their customers. But my consulting company was good. We didn't want to sell the same thing over and over to customers, so we wanted to automate it. So the original idea was just to automate what everybody wanted to do at that time. And so 7 years ago, it was always Spring and AngularJS. Since then, it became completely crazy with JHipster. Today, we support not only Angular, but also React and Vue on the front end. In the backend, we support Spring Boot, but we also support Quarkus and Micronaut. And we even support non-Java languages like .NET or Node.js. So it became totally crazy. Today, JHipster is more of an organization. It's a non-profit organization. We've got lots of sub-projects because of all those technologies. Most of my job today is trying to organize this and not coding anymore just because it's too big. There's just too many people and too many different technologies. Nobody can know all of those anyway. So I've got more work to organize all of this. I'm still following, I would say, the technologies that I like most. So I'm still following Spring Boot. I'm doing more Vue.js now than Angular. But for example, I have no idea what people in .NET do. I'm only trusting them that what they do is great.
So maybe there are some interesting stories as you created this and it becomes popular. What are some of the highlights that you can remember when it got traction or become so big that you didn't foresee before?
Well, a few milestones that happened were totally game-changing to me. So at one time, I only remember it was the summer and JHipster was going really big. I started to have some really good people. One of the colleagues of JHipster was Deepu joined. I had some really good people joining, but I was working on it day and night. So I just couldn't do it anymore. And also it was the summer. I wanted to go on holidays. And so at that time, I had one moment where, what do I do? Do I go on holidays for 2 months? Oh, by the way, I was like the only one who was committing stuff to the main branch. So if I stopped, like everything was going to stop. So what do I do during the summer? Do I work all the summer, which honestly is not that cool? Do I stop everything, but then the project is dead for 2 months, which is like really bad? Or do I give the power to all of those people, which is weird because I didn't know any of those. So for example, for Deepu, but like most of the other contributors, I didn't know him. I knew him through GitHub, but I had never met him. I don't even know if we talked on the phone. He was living in Singapore at the time, by the way. So do I trust those people and give them the key to JHipster? What should I do? And so, well, I just decided, yeah, it's open source. All those people seem really nice. That's when we created the core team of JHipster. So I don't remember how many people got access at the beginning, but it was like 10 people. And all of those people got commit rights to JHipster and could do anything on it. And I went on holidays. So we had maybe a few weeks when it was a bit weird because we realized I was doing a lot of things that I didn't tell people about on testings and so on. So we had some bugs for a few weeks and then everything fell into place. Everything worked perfectly very fast after that. People understood how it was working. Everybody was trustworthy. I don't believe you go and commit an open source code for doing bad things. It would be very strange. So everybody who came was nice and trustworthy. Well, that's when we started, like, I would say, the second phase of JHipster, when we had more people than myself. And so we started to do stuff that I couldn't have done alone. So it was, for me, a huge success. I had to be forced to do it because of the summer. But in the end, it was like one first phase of JHipster was like, I was doing everything. And then second phase is we've got tons of people on it and it's not me anymore. And that was a very good decision. So that's the first highlight. The second highlight, which also saved us sometime later in JHipster, is that we made, I don't know if it's an agreement, a contract with Open Collective. So Open Collective is a platform to gather funds for open source projects. It was being used by Webpack I'm friends with some people from Webpack, so I heard about it thanks to them. So we decided, let's try to find some sponsor. Let's try to find some money for JHipster. Initially, we wanted like 50, maybe 100 euro per month just to pay costs. We've got some costs like paying the website. I was paying everything with my own pocket, by the way. So it wasn't very expensive, but at some time when the project grows, you say, okay, I'm going to try to find some new source so that I don't pay everything with my own pocket. So we're looking for maybe 100 euro per month. Today, by the way, we're doing 100,000 euro per year. We've got a huge budget, which is maybe even too big now. So we started that. So now we're making a ton of money with it, which wasn't expected. And that has totally changed the way we are working now for JHipster. First of all, we've got money to pay for legal stuff, branding, all the stuff. So the project is very well protected, which can sometimes be an issue. So we've got a good legal protection. Also, when we do a conference, we've got an insurance. Everything is legal. Everything is well done. So that's the first thing. The second thing I forgot to say, it's that it's owned by a non-profit. I can't make any money out of it. I'm just one of the members of the non-profit. There is no shares, it's a non-profit. I'm just one of the members of the non-profit organization. That's very important because I believe that if people start to make it a real job, it wouldn't be a hobby and wouldn't be fun anymore. It would break everything down. And the third thing that happened and which really helped the project is that we started to give bug bounties. So a bug bounty on JHipster is, for example, we've got a security issue. We've got something which is very complex and very annoying to do. Something which is very long. For all those things, we're not very good. We're very good at small and fun tasks. You want to upgrade to the new version of, Spring Boot with this cool new feature. Everybody wants to do this. Basically, you do it in 2 hours. It's super fun. Everybody wants to do it. There's no issue with it. But as soon as we've got something which is annoying, long, or very urgent security issue, we're bad because we're hobbyists. So thanks to bug bounties, now we pay money to people when we've got something like this. It goes between $100 and $500. So it's a good amount of money, but it's not enough to live normally because it's not the goal. It's just to push some people to do stuff that wouldn't have been done easily otherwise. And it really opened up new possibilities for us. There was a huge number of things we were totally stuck on them. And thanks to that money, we got totally unstuck because we would tell people, okay, I give you $500 if you unstuck me on this. And suddenly, thanks to the magic of money, some stuff became possible, which isn't possible if you don't pay people. Well, that was a good lesson because it's not something that we prepared. We didn't think of this. We never thought we would have that money. But clearly, that was like the second step of the project where we could do stuff that wasn't possible before just because we had the money to pay for it. So that definitely helps. And I can't thank Open Collective enough for doing all this and also managing the legal part of it. What people also don't see is that behind it, so there's a company, there's Open Collective, handle all the legal tax issues, everything. So, for example, if you're in France like me, you need to pay taxes. We're not doing this like some black market stuff. So they're handling all the taxes and everything. So it's really important for us that we have something which is fully legal, especially because now we got some good amount of money. I couldn't have done this alone. It's just impossible. So I'm very happy with my collaboration with the company, Open Collective, because they have enabled us to do so much and so easily.
Hearing your journey, it's been like a huge success and so many things that you didn't predict before. There are so many open source projects these days as well, and people are trying to also build their open source to become a successful one, just like JHipster. So what will be some of your tips for those people who are doing open source project as well?
So the first thing with JHipster that made it work was indeed that we didn't want to make it work. I wasn't thinking about having anything serious. So like I often have people criticizing the name because it's supposed to be fun or it's weird. But what is true is that it's a very short word and very funny. Initially, a lot of people just had a look at it because it was unique and fun. The second thing that made it work is that I had a chance to have this community arriving. In the end, it's all about the community. I couldn't have done it alone. It's not possible. So in order to have that community, I would say there are two important things. The technical part, JHipster is written in a very, I would say, easy, simple, maybe even stupid way. If you have a look at our templates, honestly, they're very bad. They're only here so that it's easy to edit them. They're not clever at all. It's very simple stuff. The idea is that if you're very good at Docker, I'm taking one example out of many, of course. You know something very specific about Docker. You're an expert on one part. I want you to be able to contribute very easily. And for that, I don't want to have a system which is very complex, very smart, because you will not be able to contribute. I want you to have a very simple template language, very stupidly written. We're using a language called EGS. It's JavaScript, basically. It's templates with JavaScript. It's horrible, but that means that any expert in any technology can contribute very easily. So the first thing we did, and honestly, it was random luck on this. Well, next time I do it, now it's not random luck anymore. But when I did it for JHipster, it was random luck. is that I took something which was very simple so anybody could contribute. We had some competitors were much smarter, and I had a look at the system. It was incredibly smart, but then nobody could contribute because nobody would understand it when they start. The most important thing is that it's easy to make people contribute. And the second thing we did on JHipster is, of course, only on the human part, is try to have as much people as possible. For that, it's a question of community, how you build the community, and what people do you want in your community. For example, we were one of the very first projects to have a code of conduct. I'm a huge fan of code of conduct for two reasons. The first one, as soon as we had a code of conduct, I saw a change, in the way we were welcoming people. I believe we were always nice, but as soon as we had a code of conduct saying, when somebody comes, we need to be nice with that person. Well, then we became nicer just because we said we would do it. There was really a change. And now when people join the project, when you do your first pull request, you often have people saying, oh, congratulations. Thank you for your first pull request. It feels weird maybe at the beginning, and that's maybe why we were not doing it initially. But if you put yourself in the shoes of that new person, maybe it's the first time it's contributing to any open source project. It can be very intimidating. And then you got several people telling you, oh, thank you, that's cool. Well, it pushes those people to continue. That's the first thing. It's just being nice, but it's important. And then the code of conduct also is enforcing stuff. That's a less nice part, but sometimes we've got people who they're just not nice. They're toxic people. It happens. I have met a few of them, and basically it's a choice of governance for your project. But if you have one toxic person, even if it's super good technically, in my opinion, it's going to break everything. Everybody will quit. It will be a nightmare. So you need to identify those people as soon as you can and just make them go away. There are different ways to make them go away, but thanks to the code of conduct, the most extreme thing is that when you've got somebody who is harassing the other people, well, you can banish him from the project. I've got different examples. I've got an example which is, I would say, fun, because the people who got kicked out were happy about it. So we got some sponsoring on the JHipster project from some company who push for some, I would say, adult entertainment stuff. I mean, it's logical on their side. They know there's mostly men working on open source. It's a good target for them. So basically, they wanted to push advertisement for adult stuff on JHipster. Thanks to the code of conduct, we had like a legal agreement saying, okay, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do, and you're totally in the second option. So we're going to kick you out. And they understood it. We paid them back. By the way, they sponsor us, so they gave us some money. We gave them money back, of course. I would say everybody was happy about it. But thanks to the code of conduct, we can officially limit what people do and can't do. And it's very important to remove toxic people or companies. Well, in that case, it wasn't a toxic company. People behaving in a way you would not like in your community. By the way, if there are any minorities, especially women in tech, it's a huge issue in tech in general, but it's even worse in open source. We've got that issue in JHipster, like every other open source project. So if we have a look at our stats, they are very bad, but we're a little bit better than other projects because it's so bad everywhere. I would like to have more women contributing to open source and especially to JHipster. Of course, if we had some adult entertainment advertisement on JHipster, it would not work. That's why the code of conduct is very important. If we want those women to join us, feel safe, feel welcomed, well, we need to have an environment that makes them feel safe and welcome. So that's very important. Well, maybe that would be the next frontier for JHipster, is finding a good way to have more diversity, especially women in our team. It's something we've been pushing and working on for several years with some success. We have some women contributing. It's not all that bad, but I would have liked to have something much better than what we currently have today. So if you are a woman and listen to this podcast, please join us. We will do everything to help you join the project. We will mentor you. We will do everything that we can to help you be part of the project, because I really feel we have an issue here, generally in tech, but the most impact I can have is on my own project. So I'm going to push first for my project.
Thanks for sharing the importance of code of conduct. I think most of the open source creator won't be thinking about that. And also thanks for sharing the fun story as well. It's really interesting to hear that.